Hi everybody, and welcome to our new series that we're kicking off called Beers with Engineers. This is where I will welcome one of our amazing and fantastic Switch engineers to come and have a beer with us. We recently celebrated Women's Engineering Day, and so the person that's kicking it off with us today is our wonderful, lovable Rebecca Reel. So welcome to Beers with Engineers, Rebecca, and I'm drinking a Kosciuszko Pale Ale.
Thank you, Deb. I'm going rogue and doing a little sake. It is grocery nice, so we do a little takeout and did sushi and sake.
Very nice. The Japanese theme. So the reason I'm drinking a Kosciuszko beer is I grew up in New Zealand, very close to the mountains, but also two of my kids live in Jindabyne or thereabouts, which is right near Mount Kosciuszko, which is actually Australia's highest mountain. Nowhere near a Fortina like Colorado has, and I know the mountains are also really dear to your heart, Rebecca, and you get out and about as much as you can.
I do. That's wonderful that you have ties back to your own mountain.
So let's start with why you became an engineer. I'm really interested in understanding what you were thinking when you were a little girl, what you were excited about when you went to school. Why did you select or elect to become an engineer?
I'd almost say engineering selected me. My personality, if you don't already know, is kind of strong-willed. I like solving problems and I like helping people. And engineering brings all of that together.
But surely you were thinking that that was a male-dominated industry when you were selecting those courses, and wasn't that something that worried you?
It didn't worry me. I think like a lot of daughters, their father wanted a son, so it was never. He never made it a barrier that I was a girl to do different activities.
I love that.
And
I love that parents can really encourage daughters to take on, big, hard things.
Yeah, and it was never a thing that I was a girl. I shouldn't say never. It wasn't a big deal that I was a girl, and I never felt uncomfortable having guy friends in high school, and that continued on to college, right, where most of them were by default male.
Cheers to dads and mums that encourage their daughters to do anything, because that's exactly what my parents did. They never made it that anything was possible, and it's one of the reasons I became an entrepreneur. It was like, yeah, it's hard and it's difficult and it's huge. You're literally stepping off a cliff to start a company and step into that great unknown, and it's highly risk-taking, but my parents brought me up to believe that anything's possible. So I love that, and I think it's a great message to parents that instill in your kids that anything is possible. So
And hard things are worth doing.
Yeah, that's right. The hard thing about hard things, right? So you grew up, you liked highly analytical things, you liked the mathematics and the science subjects, you decided to do engineering. Where did you go to school?
I went to school at CU Boulder. I'm a native of Colorado, so it was a natural fit. It was just up the road. CU Boulder is so beautiful and have an amazing engineering program, and they also have a really good multicultural engineering program and Society of Women Engineers. So they supported me through all 4 years of college. And they're actually close to 50% women now in the engineering department.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So big strides since I went.
Specialize in?
I specialized in mechanical engineering.
And when did you decide mechanical? Was that a first year thing that you had to elect?
That was a first year thing that I chose to elect. Many students just go into engineering generally. I'm more mechanically minded.
Good. Well, I'm really glad you did. So tell us, post university, what were your first roles straight out of university? What did you do?
Yeah, so my family has a history in construction, so I went into construction my first year out of college, and then I decided I didn't want to shower after work, so I went and did mechanical system design for a small firm, then a larger firm, and then in consulting for energy conservation. and then sustainability in general.
What would a day of that engineering look like? What was your day-to-day looking?
A day as a mechanical design engineer looks like making a million decisions and doing calculations to make those decisions to select everything that goes, in the basement mechanical room, like on the roof and hidden behind the walls.
Mm. And then why did you decide to move on from that? Like, what was the big catalyst for you to look to do something beyond that?
Yeah, I thought that computers could do 80% of what I did as a design engineer. Once you input, the variables into, a computer program that's designed well, it could, provide, the design that I was providing. So I really want to drive this automation of whether it's energy conservation, operations, or design.
Automation is often regarded as like a dirty word, because people think about that as, removing jobs, taking jobs, stealing jobs. How do you feel about that?
I feel like it's changing jobs. 20 years ago, no one would have thought that our jobs necessarily would have existed. So it's that the jobs are changing. And if it comes to a point when we're all doing what we want because we don't have to do those things that have to be done, I think that's amazing. So I don't.
That aligns very much with my thinking, because when I think about the future, and especially in this period of immense climate change that's about to impact us, we have to get to automation as quickly as possible to do a better job of managing some of the things that are going to impact that climate change. But there's nowhere near enough people like yourself that actually have the skills to help us do this enormous transition. So I, like you, think yes, automation and machine learning and AI will remove some jobs, but nowhere near as many jobs as what we're creating. And so I actually think the really big opportunity here in this particular field that you and I are in is just this enormous job and skills, not just job growth, but also skills transition. And I know, you and I have talked about that before, that you hate the word jobs. It's got to be about careers, and it is. It's really about those new Green Deal careers that we're creating. And I think particularly the people that are in this field, over the next 5 years, the opportunity for career growth is just enormous, because you think about all of these buildings that have to transition, and then you think about other industries that are in infrastructure, like transport and airlines, or airlines are transport, but all of the other ancillary industries that support our first world, and they've all got to transition. So yeah, I agree with you. So why Switch? What made you jump into the big wide world of early stage growth companies like Switch? That's a fairly risky move for somebody that's kind of built their career on the known and analytical.
Sometimes risk is a good thing. You can calculate it, as I know you do. It's besides the automation and getting to work with a great leader like yourself and Patty Mason, like you say, it's this amazing team you've put together and this amazing mission that we're all working on together, that we get to make a difference in buildings, in whole companies, the way they operate.
Yeah, well, we're so grateful, Rebecca, for you joining our team. You've brought not just a wealth of experience and knowledge from your background and, your engineering, but you also just bring that incredibly fantastic human element, the attention to detail, but also just sharing wholeheartedly in the vision of our company to, transform buildings for the greater good. So Rebecca, we're right in the middle of a pandemic, the crisis of all crises, the biggest one of our lifetime probably, or let's hope so anyway. Tell us a little bit about how that's impacted you, your work, and how you feel personally about that.
I'll start at the end there. Personally, I feel upset. I feel sad, obviously, and weary, right? We're all going through a lot of grief, a lot of, disruption, and we want to see a lot of change, and it'll be interesting to see how that happens. I'm very grateful that it has not impacted my work very much. Right, we're a digital company, so Switch went 100% remote, and I'm really appreciative of that. And just my heart goes out to everyone, especially the United States is seeing a really hard time now. How are you, Deb? How are you in Singapore?
A bit like you, like it's a little bit kind of hamster wheel. You get up very early because my crossover starts at 5 a.m. and I can literally sit on the same seat for 12 to 15 hours, and you get to the end of the day and then you force yourself to go have a break, do a workout, and and then it all starts all over again. So from a personal perspective, it feels a little bit like a grind. But the urgency is not lost on me. Like, I think this is a time when we need to be looking at why is this pandemic affecting us. I think the loss of habitat globally is definitely impacting our biodiversity, and I think that's feeding into that. So it kind of drives me as well from a Switch perspective. I think from a big global perspective, I feel kind of angry or exasperated that people are just not doing what they need to do and get it done. Because the faster and the harder we just go at this thing, the faster and the easier it is to get back out the other side, and for people to have some sort of normal life coming back in. But I do think it's a wake-up call. I'm extremely excited and proud of how the team has handled it. I think everybody just basically went from one state of play into the next one without even a hiccup. I think as a company, I think we've handled it pretty well. I think we've asked everybody to look after themselves, look after their physical health, look after their mental health, check in with each other. I'm not sure that we could have done much more, but I'm hoping that there's some big lessons for the world out of this, and I'm hoping that science, fact, education all become really important to us, and that these things that we've learned through COVID swap into climate change.
Yeah, I find that there's so much to consider, especially with the buildings, trying to go offline and coming back online, and what, really means wellness for their occupants, and what you prioritize, and how to be energy efficient at the same time and cost effective, because we all know economically it's very challenging.
Yeah, and if you look at post 9/11, the big thing was we had to get people back onto airplanes, and we had to give them the comfort and the remove the risk for them, so that they felt like that was okay. And it's going to be exactly the same with buildings. For people to go back into buildings, especially ones that are air conditioned, that are large with lots of air conditioning, like hospitals and office towers, we are really going to have to give people much more information around the environment that they're walking into, and that the risk that they're taking from a personal perspective. And I think that speaks to the heart of what we do all day, every day, which is collect more data, use that data effectively, share that data with all of the stakeholders, and make decisions around that data.
Provide it in a single pane of glass, the work you're doing with the software development team on providing a wellness dashboard to start where every building is at, is going to be great. And especially talking about these transitions too. I know you want to consider that with Legionnaire's disease, and all the different considerations. When something goes unoccupied, things can grow.
Yeah, so I think if there was a silver lining out of COVID, I think it's the urgency that, up until now, it's been very kind of lackadaisical about whether people adopt technology into buildings, and there's been no why now, hair on fire urgency. What I think we're possibly going to see post-COVID, or certainly even during this extended period of COVID, is you've got to get this done, and it needs to be done now, and there is some urgency. There's a driving actual need for adopting tech. You need to adopt it not only to attract people back into buildings, but just to keep your company relevant. How are you going to be relevant if you're not adopting these technologies and using this data and sharing the data.
And get everything done and get everything done well. When you're managing a 100-story building, it's hard to think of everything. So having automated alerts or having this dashboard that, thinks of all 5 components that you maybe, forget 2 of.
All right, so let's talk about the Switch platform and what makes you excited. So tell us about some of the things that are coming up and why they're important and why you're excited. So let's talk about Build first. So what is Build? I've heard about it for at least 6 months. So tell everybody what this means.
Build means something different, I think, to everyone, right? We all, as people, use tools in different ways. So how I use the tool, this will affect me in different ways than other people do. For me, the biggest change is this back end change where, the software development team has taken this really messy integration of buildings, all types of systems on the back end, and put into this really clean user interface and set it up to where we can start writing algorithms to automate that, to learn that this is a space temperature sensor. There's nothing too technical about that. A computer can start to identify that, and we're going to see that. And also Dx³ becomes available to all of our portfolio users with Build. So they get a lot more visibility into their network, and they can even use it as a first step, which can be the most challenging. I'll see buildings that want to get on to the smart building platform, and it can take months to do that. And myself as a mechanical engineer don't have the expertise to help them, and the controls vendors don't necessarily either. So it's this way to visualize and see what's happening on the network that allows us to get past some of those barriers faster.
That's impressive. So when do you think the impact of that build being released will actually be, when do you think people will feel the impact of that? Will it be an immediate change for our users and our engineers?
Yes, so some of our clients are already able to access some of these features of Build and are utilizing them in the ways I mentioned already.
Cool. And Dx³, another product that's about to be launched in a big way. Tell us about Dx³ and why you think that's a game changer.
It's a game changer because it is automating this step of seeing what's on a network, that's taking this unseen and allowing it to be seen so we can troubleshoot it.
Good. Well, it's been fantastic chatting with you, Rebecca. Again, so grateful for you joining the team. You bring so much to work every single day, and really delighted to share a beer with you, and really excited about the future and just what transitioning buildings means for you, for me, for our kids, for our grandkids, and also all of those people that are running buildings out there and how they're going to digitize their teams. Any last thoughts for anybody who's out there who's considering engineering as a career?
Ooh, there's work without end, and there's interesting work. You can make things better.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.